Hey, what's up, Global Village? Okay, this is a bit of an interesting one. Uh, Candice Owens has just been sued by Emmanuel Macron and his First Lady, Brigitte Macron. And let's just take a quick listen to this to find out why.
It is time for you to wake up. So we will start from the top here with a photo of Brigitte Macron. Real name, Jean-Michel Trogneux. That person that you are looking at on the right is not a woman.
Yeah, so it's pretty much it. Candice Owens has been on a crusade for quite some time now, alleging that Emmanuel Macron's wife, Brigitte, is in fact a man. Who knew, right? And her evidence for that are some baby photos when she was very young, with her sibling, who is a boy, and she claims that she looks suspiciously similar to her brother. I mean, I don't know that I've ever heard of two siblings looking similar to each other, especially when they were babies. There's something dodgy going on here. Like maybe Candice Owens is suffering from some serious brain rot. So anyway, the reason I thought to bring this up is because a little while ago I had a bit of a dispute with another creator who was big upping Candice Owens because she was quite rightly condemning the genocide happening in Palestine. Now, the point I wanted to make to him was it's not always about what someone is doing, but also why they're doing it. Because you don't have to look very far to learn that Candice Owens is essentially a Hitler apologist. She's really is quite psychotic. I mean, she is also a flat earther, conspiracy theory brain rot 101. And she's not the kind of person you want on your team, is the bottom line. So I think you've got to be a little bit careful who you decide to align you with just because they happen to agree with you on some particular point. You need to be a little bit more discerning. Now, I just want to also talk about what I think about the whole transgender movement, and because I thought it was, beyond just this craziness of this. I think it is worth talking about because she is emblematic of, I guess, how society is reacting to the whole concept of someone being transgender. So the way I see it is it's a very similar situation to what it was to be gay, to be either homosexual or bisexual, say, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago or more. People were, back then, were demonized and ridiculed and persecuted, and indeed, to a degree, they can still be so today, especially in some countries. But certainly things have improved a lot. And as evidence of that, I can say that Donald Trump certainly didn't choose to run his campaign on an anti-gay agenda. No, he went with the anti-trans agenda because that's kind of where everyone's gone now. And, in the sort of conservative right-wing marketplace, culture wars, that's all about that. And the sad thing is, people get so ideologically captured by this whole thing, so inflamed by it, so and irrationally so, that it becomes the primary issue upon which they might choose to vote politically, when there are just such bigger reasons, such bigger points of view that you should be considering when sort of making a political vote. And also the fact that someone would choose to make that a campaign item is itself quite discrediting, in my opinion. It's just disingenuous. Whether Donald Trump really cares about the trans movement one way or the other, I would hazard a guess that he probably doesn't care less. He just knows that it's a way to acquire a large section of the voter base that sort of ideologically align with him. So the other thing I want to do is we just want to go and have a look at some comments that Candice Owens has made about this. Actually, before I do that, I just also want to speak to terminology that has suffered some amount of confusion. So we have, on one hand, sex, and then we have gender. Now, for most of my life, sex and gender were synonymous and pretty much regarded as the same word. However, more recently, the word and term gender has been evolved to mean something quite different. So instead of gender meaning your biological sex, it's a way of conveying how you feel about your own sexuality and your own role in society. So we can say that gender is the social construct that describes how you engage within the world that you live in, and whether you see yourself and identify yourself with as performing a male or female role. And there's really no issue with that when you think about it, because you're simply decoupling your biological sex from how you internalize how you feel about your gender. And by having a word like that, what you're doing is you're legitimizing a minority group of people who otherwise have no way of expressing their identity in society. If you don't even have a word to describe who they are, you're basically denying their right to express who they are. Now, I guess, the conservative people seem to be of the idea that if you legitimize the concept of transgender, then somehow you're going to be overrun by transgender people, as for some reason everyone's going to start claiming themselves to be transgender, which is an absolute absurdity. The reality is the world will always be, the vast majority of people will always be heterosexual. That's just a biological fact, and there's only going to be a very small fraction of people that are transgender. Even quite a small fraction of people will identify as gay, because the majority of people just feel as though they are heterosexual. They identify as being male, and generally they are attracted to the opposite sex. But it's not always the case. And in these more minority cases, if we do not have words to express the truth of how they feel about who they are, then we are denying them a right to exist within our own society, which is, in my opinion, a real problem. And to think that you're going to be overrun by these people is, quite frankly, neurotic, psychotic, and it's just being overcome by a form of irrational fear, which could be indoctrinated into you through religious belief or through other narrow-minded people sort of teaching you to think that way and to fear other people simply because they're different than you. I don't know. There's just any number of reasons why people think like that, but I just think it's crazy talk. And I think to further emphasize that fact, let's go and have a look at some comments in this video here, where Candice Owens is talking about the fact that she's just been she's getting sued for constantly going on about this. So let's see what we got here.
It explains why the Olympics opening ceremony was such a freak show.
Right, so straight away we see people that are looking for transgender everywhere they go. And I guess that raises another important point here. So I want to actually just knock down this common straw man, which is that someone might come to me and say, oh, you just want to allow men to be able to compete against women in the Olympics in sports, and you're just allowed to give them a unfair advantage. Well, actually, no, I don't want that, because I think you have to recognize if someone has a physical, biological advantage over someone else they're competing against, then definitely they shouldn't be allowed to compete against those people. So, I don't want to be strawman to have an argument I don't have, but that is a fringe argument. It is not central to the topic of whether it is legitimate for someone to be transgender. These are two separate issues here. And the primary one is about legitimizing the whole idea that someone can be transgender. So, again, you're turning this into a culture war. Now, another thing I'll just point out about the Olympics is that if you're performing the eye test on someone who's competing and you don't think they meet up to your ideal of what a woman should look like, well, it's just possible that that may be someone who's on steroids. Because, of course, Olympic athletes, as we all know, the Olympics has always had a problem of keeping steroids out of the sport. Now, if a woman is taking steroids, this is quite likely to have a defeminizing impact on them. So they may actually start to look more masculine. So at that point, you're now confusing two separate issues, and it's probably your bias and bigotry that's actually causing you to do that. Let's move on.
Let's all take a moment to say a quick prayer for Candice and her family's safety.
Right, so this person is so far down the rabbit hole that they are unironically fearing for Candice's safety because she has been so brave to out Emmanuel Macron's wife as a man. I mean, I don't even know what to say to this. It's just madness. But here we see, 32k likes. I mean, and this really goes to highlight my point here, that this is not a small problem. This is a mobilization of a large number of people that are effectively now going to persecute Emmanuel Macron's wife. So she may have to fear going out in public now because she's going to have people being emboldened by this type of rhetoric. To continue.
As a French citizen, after 7 years of this masquerade, you don't know how good it is to finally see someone stand up to them with such a badass attitude. Thank you, Candice.
Yeah, well, there you go. You've got someone in France who's identifying with Candice Owens' rhetoric and is now being more emboldened to do it. And this can lead to, Emmanuel Macron's wife, in the worst case scenario, even being attacked on the street. It's just madness.
No wonder the Olympic ceremonies were so disturbing. They really had an agenda.
So more of the same.
A 39-year-old is not swept away by a 14-year-old. That's criminal and perverted. He should not have been working around children. Why was he not prosecuted?
Okay, so this is actually funny for completely the reverse reason that you think it is. Because the reality is, he is not about 25 years older than her. She is about 25 years older than him. So it's actually the other way around. And this dipshit got confused and is now accusing him of marrying a woman who is vastly younger than him. No, it's actually the reverse. So, and look at that. She hearted it because she's so fucking clueless that she doesn't know either. Yeah, this is the kind of dumb these people don't care about facts at all. They're just so caught up, so ideologically captured that they're just on this wild sort of conspiratorial witch hunt. And, just going and checking out Wikipedia would be enough to actually clarify that question. But it's just too much work for these people. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got to say on this matter. This is madness. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes. They are coming after her with the lawyers, and she could be on the hook for millions of dollars. So we'll see how this plays out. All right, Bendy out.